Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to our council meeting on August 29th and 2023 at the time of 1 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order now. I'll now read the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Asphodel-Norwood is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Kirk Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Islands First Nations. The township of Asphodel-Norwood respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain these responsibilities to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I will now invite everybody to pause for a moment of silent reflection to prepare for the council meeting ahead as a gesture of respect and contemplation. I will now ask council members to declare any pecuniary interest of any matters before the council stated that the interest now or at the time of the matter arises. Seeing no hands, I'll ask for improvement, or I'll ask for a motion to approve today's agenda as circulated with addendums. Deputy Mayor Bird? No addendums. No addendums?
As circulated.
As circulated. And Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Motion's carried. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the council meeting minutes and public meeting minutes of July 25th as presented or amended.
Thank you, Mayor, as presented.
Councillor War, seconder. Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? That motion carried. What's this now that we adopted the prior minutes? I'll ask council if there's any business arising from the minutes. None. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we'll pull C1 and C2 on the consent agenda, and I'm looking for a motion to approve the correspondence from C3 through C5.
No, you still approve C1 through 5. Yeah,
okay.
even though we're pulling it.
Even though I'm pulling it, okay. C1 through to C5.
And R1.
And R1.
And the minutes.
And the minutes of the Police Service Board on May 5th. That's
You got it.
circulated or amended. Councillor Walsh. And Councillor Hodge-Greaves. Discussion. C1.
Thank you through you, Mayor. Just a question or comment on C1. It's nice that it's coming forward, that it's the new, I guess, composition of the board is being done. I was just wondering if our CAO had any knowledge of how the community representative seat and provincial appointee seats. Will that be coming forward in early year? Or will we have more correspondence coming forward of how they are, you know, what the composition would be for that, the community websites?
Sure, I can answer that. So the provincial appointees will follow the same process that provincial appointees are appointed now through the province, through the provincial appointee process. So municipal councils will not have any sort of impact or on those decisions. They'll just be appointed similar to how they are now. The 3 community representatives, how they're appointed and which communities are going to be represented on the joint board has to be determined procedurally after the province has put down all of the regulations. So it hasn't been determined. There has been chatter at the CAO group where we would perhaps be recommending that it's going to have to be on a rotational basis, because obviously there's multiple municipalities, First Nations communities, and there's already a council representative on the board. If we were allowed to have a council representative on the board for every entity, a community member from every entity, and then same for provincial, it's already 15 members, you would have to double that number, so it would be just too large of a board, so stay tuned. We're hoping to see the provincial regs very, very, very soon. We did get an update, following the correspondence that went to Selwyn that is included in today's agenda package from the inspector, Christopher Galeazza, and basically it's, they're working on it and it could be late this year before we see anything.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And C2,
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask a quick question. C2, where the premier announced that small rural northern communities could get 10% of that overall funding pot when talking about housing targets within the province. And I believe it's $1.2 billion. I believe that's the pot. Do you have any idea when we'll hear what those funds can be used for? No idea.
So the mayor and I had a delegation with the Ministry of Infrastructure after that announcement,
Okay.
which was timely. So we were able, I asked those poignant questions to the ministry, and they do not have the eligibility criteria determined. You know, so all we know is that $120 million pot is going to be spread out amongst rural and northern municipalities in the province that can meet a certain set of criteria.
Right.
We don't know what that criteria is. Obviously, we have houses going in the ground, so I suspect we'll be eligible on something, but they haven't even released what projects will be eligible.
No timeline. Yeah.
Nothing. We literally, all of we have is what Minister Clark and Premier Ford put forward at AMO, and there's been no further information communicated. There hasn't even been a portal open through AMO for consultation, and no promise that that'll even happen either.
Okay.
So, very, very early.
Thank you.
10% all rural.
I know, it's
Very small for us.
yours
if
down
we
the
get.
pot, but.
But you have to take out of that non-service municipalities, because they're not gonna be able to grow, they won't reach a growth target.
Right.
So when you
Yeah.
pull non-service municipalities out of the rural and northern, I highly suspect that servicing is going to be the main,
So
without water and sanitary.
do you know off the top of your head from those small rural municipalities with services, do you know what that number is or no? Okay.
You have way more unserviced than you do serviced, for sure. All of the majority of the service municipalities are in the southern part of the province. But even in Peterborough County, you know, 4 out of 8 are
only
service,
4.
it's 50%, right?
Yeah.
So you take that across the board, you pull out. But we don't even know what the population gap's gonna be. Traditionally in provincial funding, it's the population of 100,000. And anything below 100,000 is considered a small municipality. But then we just seen with the latest strong mayor power regulation that they dropped that to 50,000. So is that gonna be the new population target? So that would then increase the number of municipalities that are considered small. But obviously 90% of the pot is being left for the larger municipalities that have a growth target. So they're gonna wanna put the majority of the municipalities in the 90% pocket of money.
Okay, thank
So-
you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Councilor Wall.
Through you, Mayor, basically it was the same questions that we Mayor Bird had asked, it's just kind of what, again, it's obviously just too early, what's kind of that.
Yeah. I'm hoping we see something in September, but we're asking the same questions that everybody else is asking. I've already sent an email off to MMH to our municipal liaison, as it'll go through them first to see if they've heard anything, and it's been quiet.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is everybody in favor of that motion then? Motion's carried. Delegations. We have no delegations on the agenda today.
No, sir.
So we'll move to staff reports.
Mhm.
Ed Whitmore, application B 46-23. Through you, Mayor.
The township received the consent application B 46-23. This is lot 1 from Peterborough County Land Division August the 23rd, 2023. The county of Peterborough requires the township to submit a municipal appraisal form to recommend or not recommend the application. The application for consent B46-23 lot 1 was submitted to the county land division by Wilburn and Joyce Archer, and the effect of the application is to create a new residential lot on Asphodel 10th line. The consent application is applicable to lands described as 2319 Asphodel 10th line, concession 10, part lot 17 in Asphodel-Norwood. The purpose of the application is B-46-23 lot 1 is to allow the severance of a parcel of land having frontage on the Asphodel 10th line of approximately 60 meters, which is 200 feet, and an area of approximately 0.46 hectares, which is about 1.14 acres. The depth is about 250 feet, so it meets the minimum requirements for a lot. April 17th, 2023, the county planning department completed a preliminary severance review, and the review indicated that no studies were required and that the application appears to meet the minimum distance separation requirements. So during that review, they take into account any wetlands and any other features that may be present on the land, and they determine whether environmental impact studies are required or whatever it may be. None was required due to the location of this lot. In the current Asphodel-Norwood official plan, we allow a maximum of 2 lots to be severed from a rural designated property, provided that all the relevant policies are complied with and the subject property is designated rural. So they're eligible for up to 2 lots in today's rules. The township staff have not received any negative correspondence or any correspondence whatsoever from neighboring properties. Autonomy Region Conservation Authority has reviewed the applications or this application, and in their opinion, the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. Orca has also indicated no permits are required at this time, and the subject lands are not located in a vulnerable area, and therefore source water protection policies, they do not apply as well. It's outside our source water protection area. So if this severance is approved at the county level, the severed lands will be required to be rezoned to the rural residential zone. And for the strategic plan, engage with our communities and the citizen. The engagement is through the community, municipal staff report, this council meeting. And I can also say that the consent applications are done through the county of Peterborough, and all the information is, they're the authority for the severance, and so all the information is on hand either there or at the township office. So staff conclusion is the opinion that the severance application meets the applicable law requirements and conforms to the provincial policies, the county official plan policies, and the township of Asphodel-Norwood official plan policies. Staff have completed the municipal appraisal form to recommend the consent application. And the attachments are the notice of the application from the county, the consent application itself, preliminary severance review from the county, the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority comments, plus the municipal appraisal form. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Councilor, you've seen the recommended motion on the package. Do I have somebody to make a motion? Councilor, or Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councilor Ward. Discussion. Councilor,
Another question, through you, Mayor. Ed, no issues with entrance permits
No, I just
with
spoke
this lot or
the next
the
one.
next one?
No, I just spoke with our roads manager, and he went out and did a quick review this morning, this afternoon, and no concerns
And there would be two separate.
Two separate lots, two
Okay,
separate
And they're
entrances.
okay from a distance between one another.
Yeah, the lots have 200 feet of frontage each,
Okay.
and so it's on a flat spot of the Asphodel 10th line.
Okay.
Almost right at the end of Mill Street, where it abuts the 10th line. So right at that flat spot heading north.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. We'll continue on with R3.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. This consent application B 47 23, Archer lot number 2, is exactly the same as his previous B 46 23, lot 1. It is the exact same size. It is 60 meters of frontage and 250 feet, 200 feet of frontage, 250 feet deep. It's 0.46 hectares or 1.14 acres in size. The application was submitted by the same people, Wilburn and Joyce Archer, and the effect of the application is to create a residential lot, new residential lot. The land applicable is 2319 Asphodel 10th line, concession 10, part lot 17 in Township of Asphodel-Norwood. Again, the county did the preliminary severance review and concluded the exact same for both these lots, that there were no concerns that they could find, no studies were required, and that the application appears to meet the minimum distance separation requirements for any farms. The current Asphodel-Norwood official plan allows a maximum of 2 lots to be severed from a rural designated property, provided they comply with all the policies. Those policies will include things like frontage, the entrance, septic, those type of things. Township staff have not received any negative or any other correspondence from neighboring properties. Autonomy Region Conservation Authority concluded in their comments that, in their opinion, the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, and they indicated no permits are required at this time, and the subject lands are not located within the vulnerable area for source water protection to the Norwood wellheads area. If the county approves these severances, this will come back before council, and the lot would be required to be rezoned to the rural residential zone. With the engagement, it's through the community. It's on our website as well. I forgot to mention with the first one, we put all of the severances on the website. And the conclusion is the opinion of the township staff that the severance application meets applicable law requirements, conforms to the provincial plan policies, the county official plan policies, and the Township of Asphodel-Norwood official plan policies. And we have completed the municipal appraisal form to send back to the county to recommend the consent application. Your attachments are the notice of application from the county, the consent application itself, preliminary severance review report, the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority comments, plus the municipal appraisal form for this lot too. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
We'll make the motion first. Council, you've seen the recommended motion in the package, similar, very the same as the first one. Can I have a mover? Councillor Walsh.
She already moved it.
Oh, you moved.
I can
Sorry.
move it,
Yeah.
but I do have a
Deputy Mayor
question.
Burr,
and comment.
second by Councillor Walsh. Comment.
Just a question, Ed, I've been meaning to ask this question other times, the MDS ARCs. Does the township go into that agri suite and do that? Does the county do that, or does the owner do that for the reports?
All three.
All three,
So
okay,
the owners can, the township would verify the information, but the county staff, they do it in their preliminary severance review.
oh, do they, okay,
And they do it throughout the entire county, so we, as township staff, we more or less rely on their information because they do this dozens and dozens of times.
okay,
where we would maybe only do it during a building permit process.
No, I just wondered at what stage and who does it, but it's looked at several times. So,
Several times,
Okay.
yeah.
thank you.
Councilor Ward?
Yeah, thank you for you. Actually, that was going to be part of my question too, of the MDSR. Would it change if they had an increase of livestock or someone else took that over? Like, would that arc change its
Yes.
parameter? So someone else, like right now, there's no livestock, right? Or very few.
Yes, through you, Mayor, the preliminary severance review indicated, I think there was,
25,
26.
26. 26.
26?
I think it was 26. So that would be what people could keep in the future as well.
No, they would redo that calculation again, or if they came in for a building permit for a new barn,
Okay.
then there would be certain setbacks. But you can see in the preliminary severance review, there's 3 circles drawn,
Yeah, I saw that.
and that's for 3 different size barns.
Okay.
And so, the circle is determined by the animal unit and what type of unit it is. So a cow versus sheep versus poultry versus something else. And so that arc is all dependent on what the possibilities are. So say you had nothing on there whatsoever, just a large barn. They do the calculations to see what is the maximum it could be used for in the various animal units and determine that's your setback for the new lots. So,
Okay.
so they make sure that that barn isn't taken out of the farming process.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Comment?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Just to add, so in this scenario, it's a first come, first served basis. So if a building permit was issued on one of the new residential lots and a new home was that permit was issued and that home is being built, and then one of the neighboring farms trigger a change in use at that barn, so say they triple the size of their operation, it wouldn't be able, it's not retroactive, it couldn't then go back and make that permit, call that permit into question, essentially.
So that was my question.
Yeah.
Gonna be is what happens after the fact, these lots are approved, they're built.
Mhm.
Somebody buys that farm and they wanna make it a bigger operation, they're
then-
gonna have to adopt.
Right, well, that process and that change, if that triggers any planning application, building permit, whatever, then that process would be looked at through the lens of those 2 houses that are there. They are now part of the existing equation, so it's kind of first come, first serve, essentially, for lack of a better way to put it, but it's not retroactive. It's looked at as in what is the condition of today? So if those building permits have been issued for those 2 residential lots, then that is taken into consideration, regardless if they've existed for 1 year or 40. The other quick thing I wanted to mention is we're starting to see, through consents where we're getting a request to rezone inside the MDSR. And we've never seen that before. We are just starting to see that, coming down and, at council, when you start to see that, township staff are pushing back at that. And the reason being is that arc it changes. So if we rezone within that arc and then the operations change or something changes and that arc changes, then that property has to be rezoned every time that arc changes. So traditionally, the uses within that arc are determined during the permitting process. You know, it's not a planning process, it's a permitting process, the uses within that arc. So that's new. We're just starting to see that with some of the conditions of consent coming down. So you can't have a property owner go through 4 different zoning applications, so have an agricultural property owner or a neighboring property go through 4 zonings because an MDS arc keeps changing. So.
So the arc remains agricultural, so the part what in that scenario is being rezoned?
So there-
Arc is,
They're asking for what's within that arc to be rezoned to prohibit certain uses, but they're already prohibited. So we're already, you're within that zone, we wouldn't be issuing permits.
You're not allowed, you're
No.
not able to do that anyway.
Right, right. So it's a permitting activity traditionally, or we've always seen it that way, and we're starting to see communication where they're looking at, in these natural heritage studies through the Conservation Authority, that they would like to see these rezoned, which provides a burden back to the agricultural community, because they're the ones that have the MDS arc on their it's on their property. It protects them. It reaches outside to neighbors, of course, depending on how big the arc is, depending on the activity on the farm. But we don't want to see that, or any counselor, that have any impact at the county level, starting to see that we're rezoning inside an MDS arc. Not good.
Council,
I just have one more clarifying question. So within each lot, you have your well, whether it's drilled or dug, and your septic, they gotta be so far apart from each other.
Mhm.
When you have two lots that are side by side, let's say lot one has their well just inside their lot line, and the other lot has their septic nearby, you still need distance?
yeah.
Your neighbor too?
So whoever is first,
Okay,
so say you buy lot one, I buy lot two, if you put in your well and septic. For a drilled well, your septic has to be 50 feet away from your drilled well. And if it's a raised bed, you add a couple more feet to it, but other than that, it's 50 feet.
Okay.
So now when I'm putting in my well, I have to make sure that it's 50 feet from your,
okay, so you have to be
Septic.
respectful of that, you
Yeah.
know, it's your neighbors, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, just to make sure. Thank you.
and being 200 feet by 250, it's lots,
Yeah.
They got lots
lots of room.
Any further questions? Motion's on the floor, all in favor? That motion's carried.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. And Peter, we'll move on to the Manager of Public Works and Environmental Services. R4, 5-year sidewalk replacement plan.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So this report is regarding our 5-year sidewalk replacement plan, which is the first cycle of this plan. There was a previous plan. Sorry, I should note that this plan is going to focus on the replacement of existing sidewalks
Right.
throughout the village. There was a previous plan referred to as the sidewalk priorities plan, and it focused on both replacement of existing sidewalks and the addition of new sidewalks for increased connectivity. A connectivity review to be presented in the 2025 budget will provide the basis of sidewalk pedestrian connectivity plan to address the need for additional sidewalks. The sidewalk replacement plan will ensure the township is compliant with OREG 588-17 and the requirement to develop an asset management plan for all of our municipal assets. So as we noted, this plan is going to focus on the replacement of existing sidewalks. And that includes sidewalks that pose a safety hazard or that are narrower than 1.5 meters. If they're narrower, it becomes more difficult for us to maintain and for pedestrians to use them as well. The typical life cycle of a sidewalk is about 40 years. And we have approximately 12.3 kilometers of sidewalks in the village currently, with an estimated replacement value of $2.7 million. So the following is a breakdown of each year and what we'd be proposing to do. I won't go through those in detail. So the financial implications would be that over the next 5 years, we would implement $727,000 in replacement of sidewalks. So our recommendation is to adopt this replacement plan in principle and to be considered for future budget proposals with an estimated injection of $720,000 over the next 5 years. And that concludes my report.
Council, you've seen the recommended motion in the agenda package. Do I have somebody to make the motion? Councillor Ward with comment, mover, Councillor Walsh, seconder, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Peter, I just have one question. I was just wondering if there's been any thought when replacing sidewalks, if there's any alternatives to concrete? Like, maybe an asphalt or something like that. I know the longevity would be as, as long as a concrete sidewalk. But would there be any benefits to looking at alternatives when looking at some of these, especially for connectivity, that maybe you could use it for cycling and other things than a sidewalk? Just a thought.
Thank you through you, Mayor. That's a great question. And it has been considered, in various locations throughout the province. There have been cost benefit analysis done. And it really boils down to that, concrete is the ultimate, product to use. I know costs are increasing, and asphalt is an alternative, and it is used, especially on multi-use trails. But that's more because cyclists are using them. It's easier to cycle on asphalt than it is concrete. But for pedestrians, concrete is the best alternative. Has a 40-year life cycle versus 20 years for asphalt, and the maintenance is a lot less too.
Councillor Grouch or Hodge Greaves.
Through you, Mayor. Peter, in the management action list for the last year, it's been that the connectivity plan would be presented and would be a 2024 priority. And now in this, it's being bumped to the 2025 budget. What's the rationale for that when we have huge amounts of growth coming up in the township? And I thought that we were wanting to have the pedestrians, have the township come up with the plan for the people to walk, not so that it's more of a vision of the township and the village rather than, we have all these new developments coming. So I'm just curious why that has been pushed ahead.
I can respond.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'll take the question. Thank you. So I guess you will see the impact of the connectivity plan in the 2025 budget. So maybe we didn't word that quite correctly.
Okay.
The plan itself, as far as the consultation, reaching out to the public and doing all of what is required to look at a connectivity plan, working with the developers, looking at growth patterns, looking at where the commercial and industrial, like the ICI uses are going to be located. All of that will be completed in 2024 as indicated on the action list, but we won't be putting any money in the 2024 budget to actually accomplish anything that's identified in that plan.
Okay, but the
So
plan,
2025, you will see an actionable budgetary item to support the plan that's to be approved in 2024.
but 2024 budget is the consultation around it. Okay.
That's
yeah,
correct, yes.
That's just, I would have worded it
So
slightly.
different than that, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor Bird.
Did you have a question?
Oh, I said-
Yeah, I think
okay.
use hand.
Sorry, just a question, clarity, Peter, and the estimate obviously is based on current day costs, so. They're probably not going to go down.
Thank you.
That's a guarantee.
In doing that costing, Peter, do you add 5% or 10% for each previous?
We do
year?
Yes.
include a 5% inflation rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor. Bird.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Speaking about the connectivity end of things, when it comes to those budget items, is there any funding available through, Green Up or some environmental fund for that connectivity? Because it's important and.
I say, yes, there
Yes,
has
okay.
been funding opportunities in the past, for plans such as this. Will there be any open and available after budget's approved and we're able to release the RFP? I'm not sure, but we always research all of the grant funding avenues for every project before we release an RFP or a tender, if it's achievable in the timeframes that we need it to be achieved in. My bigger concern, which I'll talk about in my CAO list, is actually getting people to respond to the RFP and do the work. It's a bigger concern.
Okay, thank you.
I only had one question, Peter, but I had it answered before the meeting. And I see that you're going to continue the sidewalk from the retirement home to Baker Street this year. Very good.
That is the plan.
Which this isn't to do with replacement because it's new. Councillor Ward.
Yeah, thank you. Just one more comment, because I didn't say that I thought it was a very clear and concise report. I thought it was well done. It was well laid out. I just had that one question about other options for concrete. So
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
So the motion is put forward. All in favor? Motion's carried. R5, Maple Avenue condition assessment. Peter?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'd just like to note before we start here, this report was done by both myself and our wastewater and water manager, Kyle Veacock.
Yes.
He will do his portion of the report once we get there, but I will start off. So at the regular council meeting held on November 22nd, 2022, staff were directed to complete a condition assessment of Maple Avenue between Birch Street and Spruce Street based on concerns received from local residents. So I'll go through the following here. It's just a breakdown of each segment of the road section. So we'll start with the surface asphalt and the road base. The 2021 roads need study identified this road segment to be reconstructed within 1 to 5 years. The road surface is showing signs of rutting and degradation of the asphalt, and this is due to the age and also a sign of the condition of the road base. So we would include the replacement of the road base and the road surface. The current road segment is 9 meters wide, and all estimates below are based on a 7-meter road width. And that's in order to accommodate the construction of a new sidewalk. So the surface asphalt and road base, we recommend that it be replaced within the next 2 years based on the 2021 roads needs study. And the estimated cost for the surface asphalt is $62,000, and the cost to replace the granulars is $15,000. And that's using the material from our pit on Sand Road. So with that, entrances would need to be reconstructed as well, just because of being impacted by the construction. And so that would be the portion in the road allowance only. And the estimated cost to restore entrances is $50,000. The curb and gutter system would need to be removed and replaced as well. And the estimated cost for that is $91,000. The storm sewers are also an integral part of the road segment. We had staff retained Quinny Sewer to complete a review of the storm sewers. Only half of the inventory was able to be reviewed because the remaining half was underwater. And it is suspected that that's a result of a malfunction in the storm water management pond. So there's some maintenance required there. Since the pond has not been assumed by the township and it is maintained by BGS, the developer staff have notified BGS of their concerns and to have the work completed as soon as possible. So of the portion of the storm sewer that we were able to review, there were no major issues or concerns to report. There are some minor deficiencies such as cracking in the pipe. It's concrete pipe, so there you'll always see cracking in concrete pipe. And there's some minor joint separations as well. These repairs any repairs that we need to do can be completed by trenchless technology, which eliminates the need to dig it up and reconstruct it. Staff recommend that $30,000 be budgeted at the time of reconstruction for any trenchless repairs. Sidewalks, although Maple Avenue currently doesn't have sidewalks, we recommend that to increase connectivity through the village sidewalk be placed at the time of reconstruction. And the estimated cost for that is $108,000. So with construction, there's restoration work to be completed as well on all the disturbed areas, particularly the grassed areas. Estimated cost for that is $50,000. So the next portion is Kyle's portion.
Good afternoon, through you, Mayor. So to continue on from where Peter left off, when we're looking at this reconstruction, it makes sense to tackle the water and sanitary issues at the same time. So due to the age and leak history of the copper services down there, staff are recommending that we replace all the copper services from the water main to the property line. with human specs, including a new curb stop for, at the property line. And, the estimated cost of this, including restoration, is $293,500. The 6-inch water main down there is PVC. It was put in '86. We've had no issues with the main itself, in the past with, any valves or leaks or any of that issue. So, based on that, and its useful life, we're recommending that that stay in place, and we just do the copper services to the lot line. So while we're doing the water services, many of the sanitary connections down there are pretty close to the water services. Due to some recent repairs that we, were required down there this spring, we're recommending that all the sanitary connections at the lot line be addressed. We found that, the way they coupled the, connections from the house to the 5-inch AC pipe is not correct, and a lot of the couplings were actually cracked and whatnot, allowing lots of groundwater infiltration in a couple spots, and we can only assume that if 2 of them are like that, that all the rest of them are like that. So while we're digging up the water services, it's a great time to address the sanitary connections and put clean out at the lot line. So there's also clean outs down there for future backups or issues, and so we have some ability to maintain the system. So we did do some CCTV work of the laterals and the sanitary main down there. The lateral connections and the sanitary main themselves are fine. There's also lots of trenchless technology that we can use to address those. So staff at this time is recommending we leave the sanitary mains and the laterals in place, and we just fix those connections at the lot line. So there's no further issues there. So the estimated cost to repair these sanitary connections at the same time as the water tie-ins is $118,500. I'm just catching here, prior to reconstruction and engineering design would be required for tendering and construction purposes. However, we wouldn't require anything for the water main or sanitary main if it's being left in place, so that would just be the road design and that would be it. So the estimated cost to complete the engineering design, tender prep, and the construction administration on the entire project is $130,000. Do you want to carry on here? Sure. Okay.
So thank you, through your mayor. So to summarize the financial implications, staff recommend that engineering design be completed in 2024. And that the cost be funded by both public works, capital construction, and water and wastewater capital construction budgets. So just to summarize the costs, all the public works costs, including engineering, surface asphalt, restoration, curb, sidewalk, etc., is $449,000. All costs for water service replacement, including engineering, is $336,500. And all costs for sanitary sewer work comes to $162,500 for a grand total of $948,000. And construction costs would be reevaluated upon completion of the engineering design in order to be included in a future budget. So our conclusion is to recommend that engineering costs be included in the 2024 budget, and the engineering be completed in 2024 for the reconstruction of Maple Avenue. And that concludes our report.
It's not much money, Peter, if you say it quick like that. Council, you've seen the recommended motion and package, if somebody would care to make the motion. Councilor Ward.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Burt,
Discussion, Deputy Mayor Burt.
sure, I'll get this started. Yeah, like I say 948,000 doesn't sound too bad. It's this is a frustrating report to read, obviously, because you know, we knew it was likely coming, and it's just frustrating knowing that kind of the conditions down there aren't what they should be at this stage of it. I guess just going back to the very beginning of the report, the BGS owns the pond. Have you heard anything back in regards to that end of it, considering it needs to be dealt with immediately?
Immediately.
No, so, we, as per the subdivision agreement that's still at play for, that development, we have to notify them of any deficiency, give them a length of time to complete the
Okay.
work. If it's uncompleted at that length of time, the township goes in, completes the work, charges them back. If they don't pay the invoice, we draw it off their letter of securities.
So they still hold a letter of security for
We have letter of security for Maple Avenue East, Maple Avenue West, and Birch Street, all infrastructure. So there is adequate funds to be able to ensure that the subdivision is,
Okay, and what's the timeline on that, from the time you notice them to?
it'll depend on what it is. I think under that subdivision agreement, it's either 21 or 30 days.
Okay.
It's, sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's
No,
21
that's
or 30. It's in and around a month, in and around
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay.
Question, Peter, how long ago was BGS informed about that pond?
To bet it needed to be cleaned out.
Yeah,
I want to say it was about the middle of August.
It was just before you went.
Yeah,
Imogen. Yeah,
about the middle
so
of
we're
August.
about 2 weeks.
Yep.
Since 2 weeks since they received the first initial correspondence.
Councillor Warren.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm gonna take some positives. First of all, because I think sidewalks are important in that area, so my first question is, would sidewalks be on both sides of the street down there, or would be one or the other?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. No, it would be on one side, to be consistent with the rest of the village.
Okay, and my second question, so the engineering costs would be tendered and hopefully put out in 2024 budget. And so projected, start of a project would be contingent if we can get it in the budget, right?
That's correct.
Is that how that would work?
Yes, so traditionally, these engineering projects, very similar to Wellington Street from County Road 40 down to Highway 7, they're shelf-ready projects. So once the engineering work is done, they are considered shelf-ready. And so that engineering has to be done for two reasons. One, sometimes we require it for permits, whether we're trying to appease NPO for stormwater, whether we're trying to appease ORCA or any other agency, we need the engineering design. Two, the engineering design really will lead to ensure that the costing that's been included in the staff report, the design or the survey work or any topographical work identifies something that the naked eye isn't seeing, then that the design will identify those things and it'll be included in the construction costs. What it boils down to is a project such as this, there's no such thing as piecemealing it. Unfortunately, just based on this type of work, you have to go in and you have to do it all. So you have to have the $1 million sitting there in order to be able to complete the project. So we'll consider it shelf ready. It'll be ready to go for any funding availability. And then obviously, as budget allows as we move forward. So you'll see each department, and council knows traditionally what we have in capital works for each one of those departments. And when we're able to slide in, so public works capital budget, when we're able to slide in the $500,000. Traditionally in that department, what that would mean is potentially the surface treatment, asphalt and sidewalk plan would be put on pause for 1 year in order to accomplish a reconstruction such as this. Okay, you're welcome.
Councillor Walsh.
Just to kind of follow up, Candace, again, so there is funding for this type of, I'll call it reconstruction of an area that needs to be redone.
Is there any open right now? No,
Nothing.
nothing's open
But
right now.
typically there can be.
Can be, that's how Spring Street, Flora Street, Robert Road, Murray Street, that's how they were all
That's
constructed,
encouraging that
Centerline
there's
Road.
Funding for,
Mhm.
I'll call it redoing a road that needs to be redone.
Yep, for reconstruction, but the province is kind of heading in a slightly different direction right now. But traditionally, we have, as municipality, we've always seen funding for road reconstructions. It's just when they're gonna open one back up again.
Councillor Hodgkrees.
Excuse me, through you, Mayor, the stormwater has not yet been assumed by the township, but the roads have been, like this, for BGS still has to manage the stormwater.
No, the pond
The pond.
hasn't been assumed by us, but
Sorry.
the storm infrastructure under the road and the road is all assumed by us. It's all ours. We
Okay,
just can't get a look at it because the stormwater management pond is not functioning properly, so it's backing up our mains.
no, I know, my question was more, they don't still own the roads.
No, not that section.
Cause I was like, they could fix it, that was
But-
our-
No, they do, we haven't assumed Maple Avenue East, so the cul-de-sac,
right,
and we haven't assumed. We call it Maple Avenue West, so like kind of where the original Maple Avenue ends, there's those four new homes at the end before you get to the condos, so from there around to Birch, we haven't assumed the BGS still.
so they still
Legally
own,
owned.
cause I'm just having a look at the map, so they own the bit that curves back.
That's
down to
correct.
Birch.
That's correct.
But the township has somewhere along there up to Spruce.
Yeah, they would have assumed it a few decades ago, yeah.
Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Candace,
Peter.
PAO,
Thank you.
yes, thanks, Peter, Kyle. Candace, do you care to continue on with the operating and capital budget schedule?
So traditionally at this time of year, staff bring forward to council, lay out the draft budget schedule, for the 2024 budget. To support, this schedule, the 2024 budget survey was released to the public. We did receive 114 online responses and 2 paper responses. The responses have been summarized and will be incorporated in kind of patterns and requests and things that we're seeing back into the budget reports that council's gonna see coming over the next 3 or 4 months. So in September, first up is traditionally, as we see, building, planning, bylaw, animal control, economic development. There's really no capital components to them, so you tend to see them first for a couple of reasons. One, they're low-hanging fruit to any budgetary process, but 2, you're not waiting for quotes to get back for capital purchases. So you see those first, then you're gonna see draft parks, draft admin. As per the current council schedule, we only have 1 meeting in October, so you're gonna see rec, facilities and fire. Doing things a little slightly different, this year, but you're gonna see draft environmental, draft transportation, and then the draft, rates, for water, wastewater and Trent View Estates on the 14th. Then November 28th, you're gonna see the draft municipal operating, and we're gonna have the public meeting for water, wastewater rates. And then on the 12th of December, have the public meeting and final adoption of the municipal operating and capital. That said, this is the framework that management team is working towards. You see transportation and water more at the end. Those are the ones that we are traditionally waiting on, and we've got all the quotes out. We're just waiting to get appropriate quotes back to try to ensure that budget includes what we need it to. But you may see some slight shifting if we're still waiting on some key pieces of data. We won't bring it forward until it's ready. I'll leave it with council, and if you have any questions.
Council, you've seen the recommended motion on the agenda package. Somebody to make this motion, Councillor Walsh. And seconder, Councillor Hodge Greaves, and questions. Councillor Walsh.
Through you, Mayor, basically just more of a comment, Candace, I just love our approach that it's not one budget meeting.
Yes.
You kind of get spoon fed a little bit at a time, so it's not such a daunting exercise, and because we don't live and breathe this every day, I really do appreciate that.
Well, in this approach, you see every department budget 3 times. So you
Yeah.
see it by itself in draft, you see it in the comprehensive draft, and then you see it at the public meeting and adoption in the final. So you see every department 3 times. Traditionally, we've seen that all of the little Kates throughout, seeing it 3 times. By the time we hit the public meeting, you guys are, well versed and able to have all of your questions answered. So you're welcome.
Further questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Financial variance,
Thank you, Mayor. So to continue on the topic of finance, well, majority, I would say, majority of the invoices are in up until June 30th, and majority of the bills have been paid for the first half of the year. So included in your agenda package is a breakdown, by GL of the current status of every line item in every department. As the treasurer of the corporation, there is nothing, that is presented today that is causing any red flags, or alarms. a lot of what you see, if you see it sitting at over the 50%, it could be a front-ended expense. Just happened to hit that quarter. It may be something that isn't, some of it sitting at zero, some of the revenue lines, but we don't, solar panel revenues, prime example, we don't receive the check for the whole year until December. So it sits at zero for, 90% of the year. Things such as that. There's really, you can see we received the storm recovery funds under the administration line. So you'll see why that's sitting at 2,400% over budget, because we got the storm recovery funds. But all in all, we're sitting in a sustainable position, same as water, same as wastewater, same as Trent View Estates. I'll take any questions about any specific general ledger or any specific concerns in regards to the first half of the year. But as we've seen traditionally, we're in a sustainable position financially, so.
Put the motion forward that the Council Township Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report regarding the 2023 second quarter financial variance for information only. Moved by Councillor Moore, second by Deputy Mayor Byrd. Question, Deputy Mayor Byrd?
Thank you, through you, Mayor, just a comment, and I know this has been stated before, but your note section is key when we're reading those, because quite frankly, if you're just looking at the numbers, I would probably have a dozen questions for you, but you answer it in the note, because, we do see this once or twice, and it's just nice, instead of us having to go back, look at the budget, and seeing where it is. So I think it's been stated before, but keep those notes coming, because it's very helpful, and it probably saves a lot of phone calls or emails to the office, so.
Saving myself some work. I
Appreciate that. It might take, I realize it takes a little bit of time to add those in. But
I know it off the top of my head, so.
it's helpful, at least for me, I'm not speaking for all the council,
No,
but for me, it's helpful.
Very helpful. We pass, Councillor Hawes.
Just, and with the notes, the kitchen stairs steps, is that going to be done this year? Yeah, it's just not done yet.
It's just not done yet. So the contractor was at the town hall actually today,
Okay.
measuring it up, and we're hoping to have it done for Thanksgiving.
Okay. See, no, it's helpful.
Any other questions? All in favor? That motion's carried also. Moving on to RE. Management action list.
Okay, so. I need my glasses for this one. It's too small. So we see coming up on September 12th. It's kind of hard to believe, but we have 6 council meetings left of the year. So a lot to get done over the course. September 12th is shaping up to be a massive meeting, so I'm gonna have to do some shuffling into the 26th at our management team meeting tomorrow. We're not gonna be able to bring all of that forward. You can see that there is 5 zoning bylaw amendments listed on September 12th. Yeah, that's not gonna be happening. So we're not gonna hold 5 public meetings that day. But those are still in the works as far as process at the county and getting them back in order to do the circulation to ensure that we can hit those dates. So those are gonna shuffle out. Baker Tilly is telling me that they're gonna be ready to go for the 12th, which is great. Some of these are gonna be fairly simple, though. Standpipe replacement update, I'm gonna give you a little verbal update, but Kyle's gonna give something in writing a little bit more formal. So Watson and Associates are coming to see us tomorrow in management team. And we're really hoping that we will be moving forward in September for sure. RFP results for engineering for Lions Park, that is been received. We're ready to go with the staff report to get council's permission to award it. But it's really a part of the conversation with Watson and Associates for the connection fees. So I didn't want to tell those stories at different meetings. It's really all encompassing into one conversation. Landfill closure tender results, that closed, that requires a meeting and could potentially require a retender. We received 1 tender, and we think that there may be a discrepancy in the quantities. but we're meeting, with our engineer and the bidder, but potentially we might have to retender in spring. So stay tuned, we will let council know what comes, out of that. I had my meeting, with representatives of Norwood Pride. That went, exceptionally well, so just waiting to hear back on what we presented. What the discussion, they're gonna go back and talk to their collective group and respond back with any final comments so that we can include that in the 2024 budget process. Pre-servicing agreement for Norwood Park Phase 4, you will see that on the 12th of September. They want to service Phase 4 throughout the fall and winter. So they want to get all their water mains and sanitary mains and everything in the ground. So outside of maybe shuffling some stuff between the 12th and the 26th in the October meeting, to try to make it so that each meeting is. But this is what happens at the end of the year and the beginning of the year, right? We see this November, December, January, it's our heavy months. Where you see those 300-page agendas, so I'm apologizing in advance and doing the best I can to balance it out, but they're gonna be big agendas. So I'll take any questions.
We'll move a motion first here that council, the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report and revisions suggested by the CAO treasurer and members of council. Can I have a mover of that? Councillor War with a question. Seconder, Councillor Walsh. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just had a question about the future, some of the future things coming up. The aquifer capacity report. Will you see that in conjunction with, the design, like the final design of the tower, or when does that come into play? Because that was supposed to be in earlier, right, in the year, we're thinking March, and I wasn't sure where that's going to come in.
Yeah, so you will see it, but you need to see it in conjunction with a few other pieces.
Okay.
So you have seen that we have approved the 1965 cubic meters a day, that we have that in the ground. We've proven that. What this report is saying, okay, what do we have beyond the 1965? So part of that, we have to increase our drinking water works permit. So we are waiting and have been waiting for the last few months to receive information back from the Ministry of Environment to tell us what that scope of work looks like, so that we can incorporate. So yeah, we have 1965 in the ground, but all of that data, which I believe I explained to council, is all current. All of our pump tests are current. All of our survey work is current. So we want to increase our drinking water works permit now while all that's current. So, but we need to have the information from the Ministry of the Environment to state what the scope of work is going to be to increase that permit, to include it in that memo, and we haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
So we're sitting in a bit of a holding pattern, but we know what we can support, and we know what additional wells, so we know we want to drill, and I believe Kyle's brought that forward. We want to drill a 5th and 6th well. We're going to increase the diameter of the wells, those things. So just waiting on scope of work to increase the drinking water works permit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Walsh.
Just to build on that, Candace. As you said, we have our data right now. How good is our data? How much longer is our data good before we have to go back and redo it?
Well, there's no magic number. There's nothing in a regulation that says that, if it's 3 years old or 5 years old, it just has to be reasonable. They use a lens of reasonability. So, I mean, we've already kickstarted the process. So even they're not going to make us halfway through that process go back and do it. I think it was more the time frame between how long you've had that data and when you kickstart the increase to the permit process. We kickstarted it immediately. So we're in the process, we're in the queue. We're just basically have to wait to receive that scope of work, and our hydrogeologist is working with us with it as well.
Thank you. Further questions? All in favor? That motion is carried. On to correspondence for action. C6. Council's wishes with respect to C6. That's with Cambridge on their highway traffic law. Go ahead, Councillor Hodge.
I believe we should send a letter in support. When I was at the Good Roads Conference, I was made aware of the automated speed enforcement systems, which basically provides automatic ticketing to people who speed. And one of the number one issues that people complain about is speeding in the township. So I feel that we should send a letter in support of this, because before I got to this in the agenda, I was going to ask about it because I noticed it was discussed at the police services about automated enforcement, but I didn't realize from reading this, it's only allowed in certain areas. So I think we should support it. People are always upset about speeding without enforcement. It is a self-regulating thing. And as we know, our police officers are busy doing other things, and that is unlikely to change. So I would like to send an action letter in support.
Are you making that a motion?
That's a motion, I believe.
Do we have a second? Counselor Walsh? Okay, a little discussion,
Yeah, no, just a quick comment. When it's been discussed with the police services board, what's the, kind of the feeling around the table with the changing the, the jurisdictions or the restricted community safety zones, expanding that? I just wondered what has been discussed at the police services board in regards to that.
we did discuss it and we were talking, is it Chris?
Chris, yes.
And the price is phenomenal to set up. That was one thing, it was in the millions. That's how a lot of these bigger places can do it, because they
Right.
recoup it quicker than what we would recoup. I know that what you're saying about speeding around, I've had a lot of residents say the same thing to me. I've been down to Baker Street because I've had concerns about Baker Street, the speeding down there. And I've actually gone in and sat with a couple of residents there for a little bit just to see the traffic flow. And any speeding on the street, 85% of it, I would say, is the residents themselves or the friends of the residents that are visiting them. So they have to tell their friends and slow down themselves without us starting to put enforcement things there like. That
Yeah, yes. I disagree. I think if we want to actually be firm on speeding, we should just be firm on speeding. But in regards to the cost, when I was at Good Roads, there are two ways that the systems can be implemented. One is you pay for the service. The other is you do it sort of like many things nowadays. It's a subscription-based service where the company sets up the hardware, you lease the equipment, and you receive a percentage of the revenue. So there are other areas, other ways to do it. But again, I feel people complain about speeding. I agree, people do the speeding, but I also think it's a safety issue as well.
Oh, it is a safety issue. Deputy Mayor
Yeah,
Burke?
just an additional comment. I would support this with Councilor Rodriguez. And I'm thinking, if smaller communities are able to support this, show that there's a need for this, it's going to drive the costs down. Should, maybe not according to our treasurer, but it may. Just because we support it doesn't mean we have to do it,
No,
but speeding is a concern everywhere.
Everywhere.
And, but yeah, it's tricky. It all comes down to finding that balance,
Well,
right?
it's a business case, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
essentially, and if council is serious about it, then essentially staff should put together a business case. So what are the costs? What are the options of a municipality of our size? You wouldn't put them everywhere. They would have to be in strategic locations. It'd be interesting to see what the county thought on this as far as their county roads, because we received just as many complaints of speeding specifically on County Road 2. In regards to concerns from those residents, and it's a huge revenue generator. The flip side of that, it's really a political decision, because obviously residents are concerned about the speeding. It'll be the residents that receive the bill. So really, Inspector Galeazzi just said it's a political decision. You have to have the capital outlay, you have to have the business case to be able to recoup it back, identify it as a concern and a priority, and then see where kind of they fall with it. We don't obviously have any, and nobody around us locally does, but it is picking up momentum. I think you're gonna see more of this across the board, because the cost of policing isn't getting cheaper either. There's no the cost of having human beings, right?
Councilor Ward?
Yeah, thank you. That, I was just gonna build on that comment, will it decrease some of the costs of people stopping vehicles from speeding in the future, because it would be just an automatic, ticket that's
It would have to
generated.
be everywhere then, though, on
They
every
would have to-
street, every
No,
road,
they would
yeah.
have to be, but, I'm just struggling, I just would have to see a cost, as you
Oh,
said,
for
it would have to be
Right.
You need a
costed
business
out
case.
to see.
Counselor Walsh,
So is it like total radar on this?
That's exactly what it
that's
is.
exactly what it
But
is.
it's stationary,
Stationary, yeah.
whereas photo radar was roving.
Yeah.
So,
And it, just because I did speak to someone, you can have it set that it doesn't ticket, doesn't ticket, doesn't ticket, and then it tickets. So it's like 3 months or a month, and then you can change the parameters of how often it tickets as well.
That's true.
Yeah,
So you could have it set up saying you will be issued a fine the next time you speed, and then in a month's time, they're still speeding, they get a ticket. So there's a lot of,
So there's a soft approach to it.
yeah, there's a soft approach.
that's true.
Just one more comment, if I may. Could they be set up like a black cat where you could move them to different locations, or are they always stationary? That would be something that, I guess, that it would be in a report,
I think you would want consistency. I think if you had one up in you speed on that road and you get a ticket, and then 3 months later you speed on that road and you don't, I don't know who would be as effective.
Effective.
Right.
Yeah, I think you would need consistent enforcement. And the flip side of all of this is the black cat. The perception of speeding versus the data we collect from the black cat is vastly different. And it's a huge conversation at Police Services Board. Every meeting we talk about it, as in, it's more, people are more upset about the volume of traffic, the number of cars versus the speed in which those cars are traveling. It really is the number. It's as the number increases. It's the same in Westwood when, the work on Highway 7, we got huge amounts of complaints. Once Highway 7 opened back up, the volume reduced. The complaints, the concerns went away. A lot of it is volume versus speed, and it's perception. We've only had one black cat report come back and said that it was an enforceable
Offense.
offense that the OPP actually put resources to, and that was on County Road 40 to the north. Coming into the village, it was exceptionally different from what we traditionally see on our other roads and streets. You have your 3 to 5% outliers. So you have your bulk of your people doing within, the 10-15 kilometer range where the police aren't going to issue a ticket. And then you have your ones where they're doing exceptionally outside of the speed limit, and are they emergency vehicles? Because they say it could be them.
Yeah, 'cause the black cat-
Responding.
black cat- It just
You know.
goes with the speeds.
Volume is probably our biggest, we're on Highway 7, so I think volume is our biggest challenge.
You'll see people, they complain about the post office too, because of the vehicles going through. They do not want to get out of their vehicle. Vehicles look like they're going a lot faster than what they are. And you're not gonna open that door.
Oh, on Highway 7.
On Highway 7
Right.
itself. The vehicles are actually not, they're doing the speed limit. It's just the
It's the
road width
perception.
and everything else.
Yeah, it's just funny too, that we have posted legal speed limits and yet we don't enforce them anyway, not us.
No.
Police, it's totally acceptable that we all drive, supposed to be 80, roads are designed for 80 and everyone drives above that. So that I understand that's strange if you think about it, but also it's a safety issue. If
Yes.
people are driving, if you deter the key areas of speeding, if you deter them from, speeding in those dangerous zones,
Yeah.
then people do feel safer as well.
I had complaints yesterday about Florist Street.
Yeah.
Said, get ready for your complaints. School's gonna start here right shortly. And it's not the cars. They said it's the buses. The buses, some of the buses are wheeling in there like a Dodge. Let's get in, get these kids off.
And
go.
again, it's probably under 50 because it's hard to actually.
It
find
is,
that,
but you're
but
driving
it's
in a
the
big bus,
perception.
right? And, you can see
And-
that.
That's not a main artery. The people that are speeding on those streets, like Flora specifically, like
I know.
it's the local community. The same people that are complaining about the speed are the ones.
Doing it.
It's not gonna be a tourist or someone going through, to cottage country on Flora Street, or even we get the complaint on Spruce and Birch in through there. Nobody's in there going anywhere. It's.
We have a motion on the table to support. All in favor? Motion's carried. Municipality of Wawa, what's, council's? Response with respect to that,
To receive.
to receive, Councilor Ward. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Municipality of North Perth, school bus stop arm cameras. Moved by Councilor Ward, and a question?
No, to support.
Support,
Yes.
motion to support, second by Councilor Walsh. Discussion,
I think it's self-explanatory,
Yeah, it
that
is.
it's the safety, the arms and the cameras and everything.
Yeah.
The safety, especially in, you look at the school buses that we have coming into Norwood, to the schools on Highway 7.
and the county roads,
And the county
exactly.
roads as well, so I would say to support this.
And we had a seconder? Yes, did we not? Councilor Walsh, all in favor? That motion is carried. And council's wishes with respect to no fishing at Asphodel Park. Moved by Deputy Mayor Burt,
To receive with comment.
receive with a comment, seconder, Councilor Ward.
Yeah, I just really would like to thank Brady for sending this letter, and I'm always pleased to see you reach out and get involved, and I think that's nice. Certainly, we can't put bylaws in to respect others' space at a public park, and it's frustrating because all of that has been done for decades and generations in that park, and a little bit of common sense goes a very long ways, and it would make enforcement possible, but completely understand where he's coming from, thank him for his letter, and if we could, it's likely not so much our residents that are causing the issues,
Sure.
it's likely those
Right.
perhaps outside the area,
Right,
and yeah, so that's just my comment, so.
was very well written.
It was.
So that was a motion to receive.
Motion to receive.
All in favor? You'll second it, Councilor, or hold it.
Councilor already
You
said.
already did. All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried.
Sorry, I thought.
Oh,
we
you had a
discussion.
question?
Yeah, sorry, I thought Paula had discussion. Is the township going to be replying to Brady, or are individual councilors to reply? What's the?
Every piece of correspondence that comes in, after the council meeting, we reply back. So, he'll receive a nice little letter from the municipal office stating that council discussed his letter at this meeting. And this is the outcome, and try to encourage as a youth his interaction with the municipality for years to come.
Yeah, because I agree with Lori, they seem like such good coexisting things, swimming and fishing, and it's just very sad to read this, that it's just an unfortunate situation, because usually you'd think they would happily be together. But thank you to Brady.
And we did pass that motion,
Yeah.
correct? Yes.
Sorry, I
Okay.
thought that was for discussion.
Council liaison reports. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring forward? Councilor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Very briefly, our cultural and heritage meeting was canceled last night, and it's now been moved to the 31st of August. So it's at the Heritage Center in Westwood. So we're just having our end of summer meeting to get our, I guess what we're doing for the fall, or a kickstart to the fall. And upcoming on September 19th will be our fall speaker series, which is at the Norwood Town Hall. It's at 7 p.m. And I will announce who our speaker is at the next council meeting. So those are just two things. And the Heritage Center will be open again to the public on the 13th of September. And we are also open to any, you can book an appointment and come and research as well. So I just wanted to mention those things. Thank you.
All right. I could mention some of the seminars that I went to. I call them seminars at the AMO conference. Some of them were building age-friendly communities, exploring Ontario's future. I listened to the Honorable Catherine McKenna on principle of climate and nature solutions. Municipalities build and maintain 60% of our infrastructure that supports our economy and quality of life. I'll give you a liaison report. I'll write it out. I'm not gonna waste. I do not think it's a waste of time, but I do not want to take more time at this meeting than is needed. Moving ahead. Under the clerk CAO treasurer's list, please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. I do apologize in advance, but it is fairly lengthy. Want to give you a quick update on the water tower. So, completed rebar and the second pour of the foundation is coming up midweek, September 4th to 12th. Backfilling grading will take place the week of September 18th. And the construction of the tank will commence the week of September 28th. September 28th. Phase 2 of the pipe works connecting the new standpipe to the existing piping has been finalized along with the fill, chlorination and sampling plan, because obviously we have to commission the new tank. Still on target for mid-November completion according to Graterio, our contractor. You guys probably haven't been up there, so we can pass this around. This is what it currently looks like up there. Just a big circle concrete pad with rebar sticking out of it. I'm assuming they're ready to go. That's that. September 22nd, there'll be a scarecrow building workshop as a partnership with the library and Joe Carty Designs for everyone to prep their scarecrows for the Scarecrow Roadshow, which is scheduled for October 7th to 9th. October 23rd, there will be another seniors lunch and learn, another partnership with the OPP for highway driving safety.
When was that date again?
October 23rd. October 27th is the murder mystery fundraiser.
I have a question for that. Are you finished? What's that? Is that
No.
all you were saying?
About what?
The murder mystery?
No, but I can answer your question, just in case I don't answer it in my spiel.
With regards to the fundraising, it's for furnishing the
Interior of
the
our
interior
part
of
that we lease.
the- Yes,
Yes,
so my uncomfortable feeling around that is it going to be somehow, and I'm saying perception, if you donate, you get on the doctor's list.
No.
So I'm saying it because there's that
Dr.
there can
Keel's
be a perception that you have your name on the donations list, so then you get your name put up further ahead on the doctor's list. And I'm asking so that there's transparency in the process, so that nobody can challenge us on it. So that's why I'm asking.
Dr. Keel's list is the first one to be filled, if I can speak a little bit here. After Dr. Keel's list is filled, it's more of Asphodel-Norwood's residents that are the next to be filled in with these doctors.
And my understanding, just so I'm clearing it in a public forum, that
Yeah.
the list is not managed by the township. Is it managed through the Peterborough Family Health Team? Or is it managed by the township?
it's
That's
not managed by either.
Is
So-
okay.
So to take a step back,
Yeah.
so the fundraising efforts are to fundraise for equipment and chattels that'll go into the space. Very similar to that the township owns all of the equipment inside of the current medical center, and we purchased it.
Okay.
So, we are currently in the process with the new doctors that have signed up with us, looking at equipment lists, and we will be creating a sponsorship list. So say you would like to, as an entity or a family or a person, sponsor exam room number 1. So under exam room number 1, it'll say for this amount of money, say $5,000. It's going to fund the exam room table for this amount of money, the computer for that room for this amount of money, the blood pressure cuff for this amount of money. It's gonna clearly define what inside that room is being funded for that amount of money. When the lease is up in 25 years and the township and the council of the day decide that they no longer want to remain and provide a medical center in that building, all of this equipment comes out with us. It is not, owned by the builders of the facility. They are giving a shell to all of the individuals. So the dentists have to, provide what they want for inside their space, pharmacists, etc.
Yeah.
So that is, the reason behind it. In no way, shape, or form will a sponsor guarantee them a spot
Yeah.
with the doctor. The township is collecting a waiting list. So we have over 800 people on that waiting list since the press release went out a week ago Friday. Of that, about 650 are Asphodel-Norwood residents and approximately 150 are from out of the area. We are still collecting the data for both lists that we will pass on to the FO.
Oh, right.
So the FO takes it and they work with the doctors and they roster their patients based on those lists to ensure they have a balanced roster. And there's lots of, we collect the data. We are requesting that Asphodel-Norwood residents receive the first spots that are open to fill that roster. Dr. Keogh's patients will be rostered first. Then the waiting list for Asphodel-Norwood residents that currently do not have a doctor will be rostered second. And then the third roster or waiting list to be rostered will be those Asphodel-Norwood residents that are commuting a distance. We have families that have went back and forth to Barrie for 8 years, Richmond Hill, Oakville, Mississauga. It'll be those families or individuals from the community that will be rostered last. The doctors and the FO who actually do the rostering of the patients do not have any influence, access, or anything to the fundraising efforts of putting the equipment in the space.
Excellent.
So there will be, you can't ethically purchase your space on a list.
That's great. And I had assumed that, but I wanted it just to be said so that it's very clear.
It actually disheartens me to think that we would have members of the community that would actually even think that.
You,
So you could buy a
community
doctor.
members that will try to pocket a lot of things.
It's about having an open discussion and making sure that everyone is clear.
It's open,
Clear
but don't
process.
assume stuff and start spreading stuff before. No, I'm not saying you, I'm saying community members will do that.
Okay, because I'm asking the question so that there
Yes.
is no assumption. So now no one can make
No,
that risk,
it should
right?
be written
That's
black
what
and white.
That's all I wanted to, that's what I'd assumed. I'm just asking the
Yeah.
question. Double
I got no
check.
problem.
Thank you very much.
So to move along, in regards to follow up to the press release that was released, I guess it would be a week ago last Friday, there has been a lot of positive interactions. I got, lots of interactions at the AMO conference in regards to what is Asphodel-Norwood doing differently. The residents that are calling in to get on the waiting list are ecstatic. They are so excited, and we have some individuals and residents in our community that are unwell and are struggling to get access to care. So it's, when you hear those conversations, it makes, everything that has transpired in the last couple of years worth it. So the murder mystery fundraiser details will be being released in the next week or so. So the tickets will be going on sale. People will be able to purchase a table or individual tickets. Again, it is a fundraiser, so we're trying to raise as much money as possible. So again, the ticket prices will reflect that. And there's opportunities for entities and families and whatnot to purchase, to go towards the purchasing of equipment for specific rooms. If you purchase a table at the event, you will automatically get your name on the plaque. So we're doing a very nice, clear kind of sponsorship wall in the waiting room of the center to highlight the individuals that we're able to have the ability to assist with getting the equipment in the space. I will be attending and presenting on September 6th to the Legion Executive and presenting on September 7th to the Lions Executive in regards to the fundraising efforts for the medical center. I've already touched on the waiting list of over 800 people, 650 from Asphodel-Norwood. The nurse practitioner hours will be moving to 3 days per week come the second week of September. She will be moving to Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So those 3 days a week, she will be providing appointments to Dr. Keogh's patients as of right now. The RFP went out for the facilities master plan and closed, and we did not receive any bids. No consulting firms put in order to complete the work. I have put some feelers out and for just companies and consultants that I know do that work to find out why, and if we can just, when you put an RFP out, you have to lay out a timeline, obviously, so they can determine whether they have the resources and the humans to complete that work. So I'm working with a couple offline to determine, you know, if we shift that timeline, you know, would you have the resources, et cetera, in hopes that I'm able to secure a consultant in the month of September within budget. Peterborough County in conjunction, Peterborough County OPP, I'm sorry, Peterborough County OPP in conjunction with township staff shot a video at the new Flora Queen crosswalk yesterday. That will be released hopefully by the end of the week or by the weekend to try to teach children how to utilize a crosswalk properly, and that there is a new one there. So that was kind of a nice partnership there. The accessibility survey is launching. So we're going to be going out. Our accessibility plan is up for renewal in 2024. So we're starting the public engagement process, which is an online and paper survey to start, and then we will be conducting focus groups. Sidewalk tender, the mayor and the manager of public works did touch on that. We did not bring a staff report back because we are not awarding the tender. We received one bid, it was way outside of budget, so we've had to take a piecemeal approach to it and use a couple of different contractors and internal forces. So internal staff will be doing as much as the prep work as we can. We have to source out a little bit of the prep work, and then we have a concrete company coming in and pouring the concrete. So we've had to take a piecemeal approach instead of just awarding a tender, and that's why there's no tender award. That's the extension from Mapleview to Baker, and that's in support of the new crossing that's going to go there. Also yesterday, a video was shot at the community center here for the Chicken Farmers of Canada and the Skate Canada Can Skate program. So it highlighted the township. Received an email from one of the directors of Chicken Farmers of Canada this morning. Just wanted me to pass along and thanking the township and recognizing the community center staff in regards to how helpful they were and how what a wonderful facility we have here and how we should be proud of it. So just wanted to pass that on to council.
So I was there, I meant to say that in my council meetings. So they were very happy. Shane's did a great job.
You did do a great job. And Mal, I have all that written out, and that is it for me. Thank you.
Any other general business to bring up from any of the other councilors? Councilor Ward.
I have one thing, thank you through you, Mayor. I noticed a report yesterday about a new invasive species that we should be aware of. It's called creeping bellflower. And it's
Bell?
yeah, creeping bellflower.
Okay.
And it's, you know, in a lot of the major cities right now, but they said that it can cause extreme damage to fields that are not worked. The roots go very deep, and it's really, really hard, almost impossible to eradicate is what they're saying. So anyways, it's just something to keep on people's radar, especially in the agricultural community and on your lawns, because they say it just takes over.
Maybe we can do some social media push on that, Mal. See if we can find something. Okay.
Deputy Member.
Yeah, thank you, through you. Just a couple of items under one heading. We've had two families within the township who received some very prestigious agricultural awards. The first one was the Payne family, or Asphodel Sheep Farm. They received the PCFA Farm Family of the Year for 2023. And Robert and Laura Stockdale received the Pembroke County Ag Wall of Fame Award, along with a couple of other families, 1, 2, 3 other families or people, and I believe Councilor Walsh and Councilor Ward were able to attend that last Sunday. And so those are two big agricultural awards that they are well recognized. So I just wanted to make a motion if we could just send a card of congratulations and
Congratulations.
appreciation to both of those families on behalf of the township.
Sounds good.
I would second that motion.
Make it a motion, okay, Counselor Moore, second. All in favor? Shouldn't be any discussion, very good. Any other general business? Closed session, we have no closed session today. We have no notice of motion, so we'll move on to the confirming bylaw. Candace, you proceed.
Thank you. Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held August 29th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2023-43.
Moved by Counselor Ward, second by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? Motion's carried. Future meeting schedules there for everybody to look at.
Just to highlight,
Committees.
September 12th, we're still on the procedural bylaw rules, so we're back on Zoom. September 12th. So you know, okay.
And motion for adjournment. Deputy Mayor Burt, Councilor Hodge Greaves, all in favor, motion carried.